Today I was reading through some posts in one of the vasculitis groups I'm a member of, and I came across one of the posts where there was a relative of a patient being treated, and the patient was being treated with rituximab, and they'd had several treatments, and that reminded me about the blog page that I created in 2023 when my relapse started, where at the same time I happened to come across a training conference. This is my blog page, my fight to take vasculitis from relapse into remission. And it was part of an EU VAS training conference, European Vasculitis Society. This was presented on the Saturday the 15th of October 2022. It was day 3 of the training course. It was I think it was maybe a 5-day training course. And it was session number 4. And that's Dr Peter Merkel there. These were the EULAR recommended treatments, European Alliance of Associations for Rheumatology. And this is just over 1 minute into his presentation. There's 2 groups of slides, and it's all talking about the ANCA Associated Vasculitis groups. GPA and MPA are grouped together, granulomatosis with polyangiitis and microscopic polyangiitis. And the third type of vasculitis under the banner ANCA Associated Vasculitis is eosinophilic granulomatosis with polyangiitis. But the treatment is broken up into a simple flowchart in 2 parts, remission induction and then remission maintenance. And for anyone with an active granulomatosis with polyangiitis or microscopic polyangiitis, whether it be new or relapsing, they need to make some decisions. Is it going to be organ or life threatening? If not, treatment started off with glucocorticoids, GC, which is the steroid prednisolone, or prednisone as they say in America. And that would be in combination with rituximab, RTX. Alternatives to that could be methotrexate or mycophenolate. That would then progress on to tapering the glucocorticoid, tapering the steroid, towards a target of 5 mg per day after 4 to 5 months. However, if the condition was life-threatening or was organ-threatening, then again you would go with the high-dose glucocorticoid, prednisolone, and the alternative to the prednisolone would be avacopan, in combination with rituximab or cyclophosphamide. And again, the glucocorticoid, the prednisolone, would be tapered to 5 mg per day after 4 to 5 months. If it's a much more severe version where the kidneys are severely being impacted, then they would be talking about an intravenous methylprednisone plasma exchange before then moving on to the same as we've already seen. And that should lead you into remission. If not, stop guessing, consult an expert centre. However, if it does achieve remission, then you're into the remission maintenance stage. And in that stage, you can either continue with rituximab, or you can move to azathioprine, methotrexate, or mycophenolate, while continuing the glucocorticoid, the prednisolone taper. So that suggests that the 4 to 5 months of prednisolone taper hasn't completed by the time you're in remission. So remission, in this case, should appear earlier than 4 to 5 months. That's quite useful, I know, for some people. Now, while you're in the remission maintenance stage, receiving treatment, if a relapse appears, you go back to the remission induction stage and start again. If remission is stable, then there's an assessment of the individual's relapse risk. It's always a risk. Any other problem areas that the patient's presenting with, and of course the patient's own preference. I mean, are they coping well with the drugs? Would they prefer not to? And from that point, you can decide how you want to continue on, or the medical professional can decide how they want to continue on, by either continuing the maintenance treatment as before, or stopping completely, while monitoring to see if the patient's going into relapse. And if they go into relapse, back up to the start, remission induction again. Now that was for granulomatosis with polyangiitis or microscopic polyangiitis. But the other, third type of ANCA Associated Vasculitis, the eosinophilic granulomatosis with polyangiitis, it's very similar, except it doesn't have these extra steps for severe kidney impacting versions. I won't even try to say what the RPGN is, but it's linked to severe kidney problems. So the intravenous methylprednisone and the plasma exchange parts are not in the flowchart below. But apart from that, it's the same flowchart, where if you have the active condition, whether it's new or relapsing, if there's no threat to the organs or to life, then you always start with the high dose prednisolone, the glucocorticoid, in combination with, this one's difficult for me to say, I'll give it a try, mepolizumab. That's what's mentioned for the EGPA. However, if it was life or organ threatening, still go with the high dose prednisolone, but that would be in combination with either cyclophosphamide or rituximab. You then, in both cases, move on to tapering the prednisolone, the steroid, tapering the steroid. This time the target is lower, 7.5 to 12.5 milligrams per day within 3 months. So you probably start about 60 milligrams per day, tapering down to somewhere between 7.5 to 12.5 milligrams within 3 months. Are you in remission at that point? If no, contact someone that knows. But if yes, then you're into the remission maintenance part of the treatment, suggesting that within 3 months you can be in remission. And for remission maintenance, it's the treatment of methotrexate or that other one for the non-life threatening. I'm not going to even try to say it again or I'll start coughing. That's my excuse. And if you haven't finished the taper, then you would continue the steroid taper down to the target of either 7.5 to 12.5 milligrams per day. At that point, you should be in remission. If you go into relapse, back to the start again. If you're still in remission, then the decision can be made, same as above, in agreement with the patient, either to continue the maintenance treatment or to stop. And again, at the end of that, if you go back into relapse, you go back up the start and induce remission again. And it's a simple loop. There's much more information on this. I'd like to cover more of it at some later point. If you found any of this useful or interesting, and if you would like me to try and cover some of the other items that are in the snippets that I managed to capture into my blog, let me know in the comments. I'll try and create a video for that. And if this reflects what you're receiving as a treatment for ANCA Associated Vasculitis, also let me know in the comments. Or if this is nothing like what you're receiving, that's also worth mentioning in the comments. Have a read, see what other people are saying. Add your own comments as well. And until the next video, stay safe. Thanks for viewing.